Welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and well, as you know, there's a lot about the movie Noah, the biblical account of Noah, and it all now kind of climax coming up this weekend with the movie coming out. But how about Noah the book, the real story? Let's get the story straight. Well, we are delighted to have with us today Larry Stone. Perhaps you have read several of his other books, The Story of the Bible, Women of the Bible. Maybe even heard Larry. He's been on the Janet Parshall show, In the Market with Janet Parshall, which airs here on the Dove Radio. So today we're going to talk to him about Noah and his book and the real story. Hi, Larry. Nice to see you, my friend.
Glad to be here, Perry.
Good to see you. Well, listen, a big week. Did you ever think the whole subject of Noah would be as much as it is today?
Well, I anticipated that. It's just when it comes, you're a little overwhelmed. That's why I wrote the book. About a year and a half ago, I knew that the movie was coming, and I knew that people would want to know the story of Noah. Because although we say we love the Bible, although we say we read it, most of us don't know what's really in the Bible. And certainly the friends of ours that don't read the Bible don't know what's in the Bible. So what I did with the book was to try to tell all the ramifications of the Noah story.
All right. I want you to get into it because, as you know, Paramount releases their picture. Ray Comfort didn't like the movie. He went out and he made his own. Right. And I sat there in the NRB listening to the discussion about the movie. I think the bottom line is, no, it's not 100% biblically accurate, but in the end, will it cause people to go read the Bible of the true account of Noah? Do you think that'll happen?
I certainly hope so. In fact, this isn't about the Noah book. I did a book on the story of the Bible, the history of the Bible. And I had a friend that looked through it. He's I would call him a lapsed Catholic. He's a good man, but he doesn't go to church all that often. And as he read through my book, he looked up at me and he said, you know, I think maybe I ought to go read the Bible now. So that's the effect I hope the movie happens. So people want to say, what is the story? And they'll go back to Genesis and read the story of Noah.
All right. Let's get into it a little bit, Larry, because, you know, it is a biblical story. And when you read it in the Bible, it's not that long. No. But you have to put all the other context in place in order to get the real story, what's going on here. Walk us through it.
Okay. God created the heavens and earth, created humans, Adam and Eve, and after 1,000 years or more, he looked down on the earth and saw that people were evil. They were violence, wickedness, sexual immorality. They had no time for God at all. In fact, the Bible says they were continually, morning, noon, and night, thinking about nothing but evil. And it grieved God. And so he said, I'm going to destroy the earth. But he found one righteous man, Noah, and told Noah to build an ark. There's not a lot of details here, but God said to build it 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, 45 feet high, with 3 decks, a door, and a window. Now, actually, we think it's a long series of windows. And then God brought the animals to the ark. So Noah spent 60 to 80 years, perhaps, with his 3 sons, Ham, Shem, Japheth. I think he probably hired some other friends to help him, too.
Right.
And they built the ark. And then the animals came, and Noah, his family, and the animals got on the ark, and they waited for about 7 days. And then the rains came, the destruction came. The Bible says the fountains of the deep came up, the rains came down, the heavens opened. And we believe also that it was a very cataclysmic time where there was earthquakes and all kinds of things going on. The waters came up and everything died. Animals, people, everything that was not on the boat, on the ark, died. The rains kept going for about 40 days, and after 40 days and 40 nights, it stopped. And they remained on the ark for about a year. And after a year, the rains subsided, the water subsided, and Noah and his family and the animals came out. They built an altar, he worshiped God, and the animals and Noah and his family repopulated the earth. There's some really cool stuff in the Bible where God says to them, go out and repopulate the earth, and they did.
Mm-hmm. All right, couple things here. Secularists will tell you, you don't really believe God did that, do you? You don't really believe in the account of Noah in the Bible. I mean, they try to discredit. I mean, it's such a cladomistic story. People go, you don't really believe that, do you?
Well, you can say that about anything in the Bible, almost. You don't really believe that,
Right.
because it is such a transformative story, and it's a key story in the
Right.
Bible. The answer to your question, yes, I believe it.
Yeah.
The Bible says it. And what's really interesting is there's about 300 flood stories throughout the whole world. So there's not just the flood story in the Bible. Now, some people say, well, Noah got Moses, who wrote the Genesis, he got his ideas from other flood stories. Well, yes, maybe, or maybe the flood stories throughout the world are the result of a collective memory of one great worldwide flood.
You know, I've had Ken Ham on and some of his surrogates talking about the flood, and you mentioned it there in your opening comments that the water also came up from within the bowels of the earth. Have you done some research on that?
Well, I'll tell you one really interesting thing. There's a number, if we get into the movie, there's a number of the things that aren't quite right or not biblical in the movie, but I think they get the fountains of the deep coming up right. It's fabulous. You see all this water, almost like geysers, coming spurting up out of the ground in addition to the rain.
Mm-hmm. All right, so they get that part right.
Yeah.
The other part about this, and this is not only Noah himself, but throughout the Old Testament, it appears that God has conversations with human beings, much like you and I are talking right now, that he would talk to Noah and tell him what to do, as if he was standing right in front of him.
That's right. And Noah heard him.
Wow. So give us, give us a little background on Noah from your perspective. Who is he?
About all we know about Noah is that he's the grandson of Methuselah and the son of Lamech. Methuselah was the oldest man to live in the Bible. And in fact, what's really interesting, Noah's grandfather, Methuselah, if you work out the numbers, dies in the year of the flood. So God, I guess, I don't know whether he killed him before the flood or in the flood, but it's in the year of the flood that Methuselah dies. We know that Noah was the grandson of Methuselah, the father of Ham, Shem, and Japheth. And beyond that, we don't know a whole lot. He was about 500 years old when Ham, Shem, and Japheth were born. And then about 100 years later, when he was about 600 years old, the flood came and he lived for another 350 years. Now, one of the things I address in the book is, did Noah really live that long? And there's a number of explanations, but all of the people in the Bible before the flood lived a lot longer than we're living today.
All right, so back and forth between the book and the movie, does the movie portray, in your opinion, the purpose of the flood, the reason for the flood?
The movie portrays a very different purpose of the flood than what the Bible talks about. I mentioned before that God looked down on, in the Bible records, that God looked down and saw that mankind was wicked, was evil, violence, sexual immorality, had no time for God. In the movie, that's not the reason given for the flood. In the movie, the reason given for the flood is that mankind was disrespectful of God's environment, of the world that God created. Aronofsky, who made the movie, said that Noah was the first environmentalist. And so it's a very different reason than what's given in the Bible.
All right, because that is communicated, and that's one of the complaints. It also didn't show that Noah had any kind of a praying relationship with God. He doesn't lead his family into prayer, things like that. Can you comment on that?
No, he doesn't. And in fact, Noah has, he hears God. God tells him what to do, but at the same time, he doesn't quite understand God's message. And he's unsure of some of the aspects of what God is telling him.
But it does portray that there is a communication between God and man. It does recognize the fact that there's a supreme being.
Absolutely. It doesn't use the name God, which we usually use as calling God. It calls him creator, which certainly is one of God's primary attributes. He is creator. But that fits in very nicely with the environmental theme in the movie.
All right. Any idea how many animals on the ark?
The answer to that is, what do you think the Bible means when it talks about when God told Noah to bring a male and female, two animals, after their kind? If kind means species, Well, there's between 3 and 30 million species on the world, which, if you work out the math, you'd have to have millions and millions of animals. I don't think that's happened. If kind means genera, or kind means family, you can get away with a lot fewer animals. So the real question is, did Noah have to bring a dachshund and a beagle and a wolf and a Airedale? Or did he simply have to bring 2 animals, male and female, representing the dog family? And I think that's what happened. And those that have studied the matter say that in that case, Noah could have brought as few as 16,000 animals on the ark. Now, that's still a lot, but that's very doable.
Okay. And plus the feed.
I'm sorry?
Plus food for them all.
Plus food for them all. And we talk in the book about how Noah might have fed them. What's interesting is the Bible doesn't give us any of these details. And so what we're forced to do is to speculate how Noah might have fed the animals, or how he might taken care of them. And we don't know for sure that that's how Noah did it, but we can sure come up with ways in which he might have done it. And those, again, who have studied it say it's all very doable.
All right. Let me take a quick break here, Larry. We'll come back and give us some more information. Larry Stone's with us, and he's the author of the book called Noah, The Real Story. And there's a picture of it there on the screen. You may want to check it out at the Christian bookstores, or at Amazon, or at Barnes & Noble, and get a copy of it. He details all this for you. We'll be right back with Larry Stone in just a moment.
Hi, I'm Paulina, and I work at theDove TV. Did you know that when you support theDove TV, you have a profound impact, not only in our community, but around the world? It's your continued support that takes the inspiration and hope in the programs we produce and makes them available to the thousands of people who are watching these videos online every week. Help bring encouragement and hope to our valley and beyond by making a secure online donation today at our website, thedove.us.
Okay, we're back, and our guest today is Larry Stone. He's the author of the book called Noah, The Real Story. Maybe you've read some of other Larry's books that he's put together and authored, the story of the Bible and the women of the Bible, and he just does great work. And this is a book very timely, as we know that this weekend, Paramount's releasing the movie Noah, which comes with incredible talk. I've never seen a movie get so much plus and negative talk at the same time. And so I don't know. I'm going to reserve judgment. I have not seen the movie. I saw enough trailers of it and clips of it, Larry, to let me know that it's got issues. There's no question about it. And I guess the NRB was able to get a disclaimer put in at the beginning of the movie. It says it's inspired by the biblical story, Noah, but not that accurate. So I guess that is somewhat of a compromise. My overall attitude is that if it causes people to go back and stick their nose in the Bible and read the Bible, it could be a good thing.
That's right. And the disclaimer is exactly that this is not the story of the Noah directly from the Bible. This is a story of Noah inspired by the Bible.
Yeah.
The people that wrote the movie, they follow along the main plot line, if you will, of what's in the Bible, but they add a lot of details and a lot of stories. And some of it is actually accurate to what the Bible says, but it's going to make us uncomfortable. And I'll give you an example. I was at my local Christian bookstore yesterday and picked up one of the Bible story books. I had asked my wife earlier the day before if we had any. She said, we've given them all to our grandchildren. Picked this up, and I turned to the Noah story, and here's a picture of Noah surrounded by these animals looking sort of like Dr. Dolittle. It's all very nice, but it's not, even in the Bible, a nice story. The Bible says the farm animals, the birds of the air, all the people dead. And that is a horrible, horrible picture. And some of that blackness and bleakness comes through in the movie very effectively, which may be right, but it may make us uncomfortable.
Yeah,
so
one of the scenes where the people are shut out of the ark is pretty dramatic.
Dramatic and almost terrible. And so we have to discern between what makes us uncomfortable but may be true to the biblical word and what's just not right. And one of the things I did was I realized that people are going to want to be talking about the movie Noah. And I'm encouraging people to don't just go see it, but take some friends. Some folk from my church are doing this. They're going out as a group. They're going to go see the movie. They're going to go up to somebody's house afterwards and then talk about it.
Right.
So I have on my website, which is just the name of the book, www.noahtherealstory.com, a discussion guide. It's about two dozen questions, no answers, but we'll get you started talking about the Noah story and the Noah movie after you've seen it.
What a great service. Thank you for making that available. All right, noahtherealstory.com. There's a discussion guide for you to go see the movie and then bring your friends home and have some ice cream, popcorn, whatever, and discuss the movie. All right, now, the Bible does give the dimensions of the ark, but not necessarily the shape of the ark. I find it very interesting that the movie is pretty much a box. What Ken Ham is doing is a little bit more water-worthy in his developing of the ark. Your comments?
Well, the movie actually follows along the Bible pretty closely. It's actually 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high. The question then is, what's a cubit? A cubit is generally considered to be the distance from a man's elbow to the tip of his finger, or about 18 inches. So it's a 450 foot long, 75 foot wide box. 1.5 times the length of a football field, half as wide. I mean, absolutely huge. Primarily, I think it was Tim Lovett, who works with Ken Ham, said that if you take a great big box like this and it turns so that it gets in the waves, it runs the risk of capsizing. So what Tim Lovett is suggesting is that you put a projection on the front and like a rudder, a fixed rudder on the back, and those will act as a wind, catch the wind, so it will turn the ark when the wind comes, which is wind forms waves, and makes the ark go across the waves rather than in the waves and gives it stability. Does the Bible say that? No, but I think it's a logical and good conclusion.
Yeah, by the way, the dimensions of the ark, and I think, is it like the 6-to-1 ratio or something like that, is the same amount, is the same figure used for the large oil tankers today.
That's right. And you mentioned Ken Ham a couple of times. I was going to say next month. Actually, in May, they are going to break ground for a life-size reproduction of the ark in northern Kentucky, about an hour south of the Cincinnati airport.
Right.
They're going to build an Ark Encounter theme park, and it's going to be a fabulous experience.
Yeah, it is. It is wonderful. Any thoughts where the ark is now? I mean, is it here? Is it there? Are you hiding it in your garage? What's the deal?
I'm afraid my garage isn't that big. The Bible says that the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. Now, 1,500 years ago, most people, Jewish people and early Christians, thought that that may have been Mount Judy, which is in southeastern Turkey. However, the focus began to be given to Mount Ararat itself, which is about 200 miles northeast of Mount Judy, way in the east of Turkey, tucked up right near Armenia. Mount Ararat is a 16,000-foot mountain that rises up from the plains of eastern Turkey. And it's unusual for a mountain because most mountains that tall are surrounded by other mountains. So that when we go out to Colorado, my wife and I, we land 5,000 feet up in Denver, and then we go up to 16,000-foot mountains, but we start at 5,000 feet. Right. So it's not quite like Ararat. Ararat is spectacular, I'm told. People have looked for the ark on Mount Ararat. There have been those that have said they have seen it. There have been photographs of it, but, and there's some stories in the book, those photographs, although people testify they have seen it, are now missing. So we don't have any photographs of the ark. The evidence, there's some people that have found some wood that is generally discredited now. So we're still looking for the ark.
Okay. What do you think the secret was for Noah to survive this whole ordeal? I mean, he obeys God. Obviously, he had to have a very clear communication with God. It was very clear what to do, to the point he put his whole family and motivated them over the years to build the ark. Now they're on the ark, they're floating around out there, and they're surviving on this thing for a year before they ever get to dry land again. What do you think was going on? What do you think anchored them?
The real key there is believe what God says and act on it and get ready. Noah believed what God said, that the flood was coming. He acted on it. He built the ark, and he got ready. He got in the ark. And those 3 points is Noah's secret to surviving the end of the world. And Christ draws the conclusion in the New Testament. He says, just like it was in the days of Noah, nobody believed Noah when he said that the flood's coming. And they kept on doing what they always do. They ate and they drank and they got married and so on. He says, Jesus says, I'm coming back. I'm not going to destroy the world with a flood again. That won't happen again. But the world will come to an end. And at the end of the age, I'm coming back, not in disguise as a baby, but next time in power and glory. And the secret for surviving the end of the world is just the same as Noah. Believe God, act on it, and choose now whose side you're on. And that's the message of Jesus, because he's coming back. And when he does, if we're not on his side, it's going to be too late.
Boy, what a message. And the key point there, as it was in the days of Noah, can you parallel those days and today?
You certainly can, because what we were told in the days of Noah was that there was widespread lawlessness, sexual immorality, violence, and just people turning their backs on God. Now, there's a little bit longer than I can get involved in here, but those 4 points are certainly true of us today.
All right. So what would you say to those who have heavily criticized this movie as not being biblically accurate? I think that's a given. We know that. But is there any virtue here, in your opinion?
It probably depends more on where you, as an individual, are coming from. Some of my friends don't want to go to see a movie unless it goes pretty closely to what the Bible says. And I'm not going to disagree with them as trying to talk them out of that. Because if that's what you don't want to go see a movie unless it follows along very closely to the Bible, please don't go see Noah. You'll be upset or disappointed. But if you are willing to let storytellers embellish the account of what's in the Bible, then by all means go see it. Many years ago, there was a movie called The Robe, which takes the story of one of the soldiers at the foot of the cross who won the lottery to get the robe of Christ, and then the effect on his life. Is any of that in the Bible? No. But it took the elements of the scriptural story and embellished it. And that's exactly what Noah does, the movie. And so if you don't like any embellishment, don't go see it. Then the question is the embellishment real? Do I agree with the embellishment?
Yeah, well, it's Hollywood at its best.
That's right. Now, I will admit that Darren Aronofsky and Ari Handel, the 2 people that wrote it, they are self-described not very religious Jewish boys.
Yeah, well, there you go. Well, fascinating. Thank you, Larry. And again, people who want to get a hold of your discussion guide, NoahTheRealStory.com, what Larry has made available there is a discussion guide for you to have after you go see the movie Noah, then with some friends, have them over to your house and bring up the subject. And I think this is how we use it. That we use this as an opportunity to get people's nose into the Bible.
Yes,
and that's how this should be used. And hey, thanks, my friend. Keep up the good work. And you got anything new coming? Are you working on anything new?
Not right now.
Oh, okay, you're enjoying life.
I'm trying to keep my head above water.
Yeah, the flood's coming. All right. Hey, God bless you. Thanks for being with us.
Hi, I'm Daniel and I work at theDove TV. You know, compared to Portland, Seattle, and LA, Medford might be considered a small market, but at theDove, we're excited about the opportunity to make a big impact right here in our community. And you help make that happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us now by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or by phoning 541-776-5368.
Well, as you know, 2014 is an election year all over the country, and in the state of Oregon, our primary is May 20th coming up. And one of the most notable races going on is that there are 8 Republican candidates vying for the Republican nomination to run against sitting Senator, U.S. Senator Jeff Merkley in the state of Oregon. And one of those candidates is Mark Callahan. We had a chance to talk to him about his candidacy and why he's running. So join me now as we talk to Mark. Well, today we're interviewing one of the Republican candidates who hopes to be the winner of the Oregon primary for the Republican nomination to go up against sitting U.S. Senator Jeff Merkley. We are delighted to have with us today Mark Callahan, and I want to read something here off of his literature because this may just pretty much end the interview right here. He says he's pro-freedom, pro-U.S. Constitution, pro-limited government, pro-military, pro-free market, pro-life, begins at conception, pro-gun, strongly believes in the Second Amendment, pro-God, believes in religious freedom, and pro-family. Well, Mark, I'll just sign for you and move on. Why should we talk anymore? You pretty much nailed it all there.
I know what I stand for, and I'm really direct. I don't sugarcoat about it either. So. Oh,
that's great. Nice to have you with us today. Now, professionally, you're an IT consultant. What do you do?
I fix computers for a living. So basically what I do is I work for a consulting firm up and out of the Portland area, and they kind of farm me out to other companies in Oregon, between Salem and the Portland area, to do computer work. And this most recent position that I had is doing network administration work also up in the Portland area.
All right, good for you. So what made you decide to go after the U.S. Senate?
Well, it got to the point for me where I just had to get off the couch, stop watching TV, and complaining. I had to actually get out there and do something about what I was seeing happening to our country and our freedom. And I come home every night. I spend time with my daughters, and I look at my daughters and I look at their future. And to me, I gotta do what I can as a dad and a father to secure their freedom, to make sure that they have a future that's based upon freedom as our country was founded upon as a constitutional republic 238 years ago. So, as I said, I just can't sit around anymore. I'm a very passionate individual, and in terms of it coming to my daughters, it's very personal to me in terms of being able to do what I'm doing out there on the campaign trail. And I mean, I know I'm not the money leader, but the point is I have the passion and I have the message. To me, it's about the message as opposed to the money. So I'm not doing it for fame, fortune, or glory here. I'm doing it because I feel the drive to do it, and I want to be able to secure not only my daughter's freedom in the future, but my country's freedom and the freedom of all of our sons and daughters.
Well, again, I commend you for doing it because I know running a campaign, especially statewide, is an incredible commitment. So thank you for what you're doing, and thank you for the sacrifice that your family's making in doing it. Let's get into a couple of these issues that are certainly critical. This week, as you know, Obamacare is celebrating its 4th birthday, catastrophic failure nationwide. What's your thoughts on that? Do you think it can be repealed?
I think it can be repealed. I mean, the House has tried 40 times, I think is what it is now, to repeal it. And then it's sent over to the Senate. And unfortunately, in the Senate, you have Harry Reid that basically refuses to even bring it to the floor. So what we need to do, the strategy we need to do is in the 2014 election, we need to keep the majority in the House. Then we need to get a majority in the Senate, take that gavel away from Harry Reid, and we can stop a lot of this stuff and push through the full repeal of Obamacare. I advocate for the full repeal of Obamacare, not the repeal and replace or repeal and fix like some of the other candidates in the race advocate for, but the full repeal of Obamacare, because Obamacare is socialism. It's not based in freedom. And we have the March 31st deadline coming up here where the president's really pushing, oh, you got to sign up. Yeah, okay, whatever. I'm not going to sign up for socialism. I'm not going to sign up to infringe upon my own freedom as an American. And I mean, a lot of other Americans feel the same way I do. And I mean, Obamacare, or what my team and I refer to as Merkley Care, because he voted for it. And it's evil, it's socialism, and needs to go away by full repeal.
All right, let's look at a couple of other things. A lot of people don't know that the Common Core education system is now upon us. A lot of people don't even know what it is, and even a lot of educators don't even know what they're in for. What's your thoughts on Common Core?
Oh, Common Core, that's another socialist piece of legislation that needs to go away, too. I mean, it's being pushed by the U.S. Department of Education. which is another agency that also needs to go away. But basically, a Common Core, it's liberal progressivism, basically infecting our schools. I personally have had bad experience with the Common Core myself, a couple of them, where I actually went to a parents' meeting, started talking out against Common Core. I get a call 8 days later from the superintendent of my daughter's school district saying that if I ever talk against Common Core again, I'll be removed from the room. Well, I'm a parent here, and I'm speaking out what I believe in and what I want my daughter's education to be, and I'm being threatened by the school superintendent. Another thing I'm seeing is my daughters are bringing home homework when they do bring home homework anymore, and I'm seeing things at the bottom of their homework, like their math homework, like what is the reasonable answer for a math problem. Whenever I was going to school, when you have a math problem, it's either right or it's wrong. You don't have the reasonable answer because, for one thing, the bank isn't going to care what you think the reasonable balance in your checkbook is, or the IRS isn't going to care what you think the reasonable amount of taxes are. It's either right or wrong, and that's it. So Common Core is another socialist piece of program, and that just needs to go away. And I'll fight to make it go away when I get to the U.S. Senate.
Did you expose this superintendent for threatening you for doing this?
Yes, I did. I actually went to the school board meeting. I stated it flat out at the school board meeting. Of course, at the school board meeting, at the public comment session, it's basically your 3 minutes of fame. They just roll their eyes at you and they don't do anything about it. But I also posted it on the internet too, and nothing ever came of it. She got another six-figure job at a company, I think like an education services company. And they never did anything about it. So
wow. All right, let's move on to a couple of others. Immigration, as you know, Mark, is big, and it doesn't look like anything's going to come through the House because of this election cycle. But shortly thereafter, if the Democrats are able to take over the House, you know that amnesty is going to be full throttle. What's your thought on the current immigration, and what's your thought on some kind of a policy there?
Well, what we have right now is a broken system. I mean, we have laws that are not being enforced. We have a border that's not being secured. And we have all these gang of eight pro-amnesty politicians that are pushing for amnesty, as you stated. But the point is, I mean, my plan for when I get in there in terms of fixing the immigration policy is, one, secure the border. We got to turn off the spigot here. It's no longer just an immigration issue to me. It's a national security issue. We could have potential terrorists that have come and will come through our southern border because it's unsecure. So we need to secure the border first. Next, we need to enforce existing law. Right now, existing law is not being enforced by the president or the executive that's supposed to be enforcing the laws that Congress passes. So we need to motivate him somehow to enforce existing law. And if he's not able to do it, then we need to impeach him and we need to convict him. So, and then the third thing is we need to say no to amnesty. If you're going to be here as an American, then you're going to earn the right to be here as an American. You have to stand in line just like everyone else to be an American. And if you want to actually earn your way into this country as opposed to breaking and entering.
All right. Let's look at a couple of things that are hot button. If you were sitting in the U.S. Senate, would you vote for a full-blown investigation of Benghazi?
Yes, I would. Yes, I would. We need to keep those that were accountable. I mean, this stuff where Hillary Clinton goes on television and saying what difference does it make? Well, yeah, it makes a difference when 4 Americans died on your watch, Hillary Clinton. And so we have unaccountable behavior that think they could just, from people like Hillary Clinton and those under her, that think they can just get away with things and say, what difference does it make, and blow it off. Well, that's not what our country's about. Our country's about freedom. Our country's about accountability and holding those that serve us accountable instead of just letting them get a pass and say, well, what difference does it make? Well, that's not what our country's about, and Hillary Clinton and those under her need to be held accountable.
The IRS is certainly out of control. The IRS scandal and investigation continues to go on. It would appear to me that the best thing that the IRS can do is go away. However, in order for it to go away, we'd have to replace it with another tax system. What would you think that should be?
I mean, right now we have a progressive tax system. So what I would advocate for is replacing that with a flat tax or a fair tax that's been out there on the internet. Now, people can do their own research on the flat tax or fair tax, but right now the progressive tax system is tyranny. The progressive tax system is not fair at all. It's basically charging Americans different rates for different portions of their income. Well, when you tax and tax and tax, and you have unaccountable politicians out there spending tax money, and they're overspending because we have a 17, $18 trillion debt or national deficit as well, then we need to hold them accountable. We need to hold them in check in terms of being able to spend our money. And I advocate for replacing the current progressive tax system with a flat tax or fair tax system.
Mark, the NSA is spying on U.S. citizens, and it's got a lot of people upset. Do you think this is in violation of the U.S. Constitution's Fourth Amendment?
Yes, I do. Basically, Americans, according to our Fourth Amendment, need to be secure, or are granted to be secure in their papers and effects. And what the NSA is doing right now is against the Fourth Amendment. So yes, I would say that the NSA does violate our Fourth Amendment by basically creating this blanket search and seizure. And it's not what our country's about. Our country's about freedom, and they're obviously not upholding freedom by doing that and violating our Fourth Amendment.
All right. Under this administration, the military continues to be cut, and yet we are in the most volatile world in the history of the world. What's your feeling about cutting the military?
Well, right now we need to be able to. I strongly support the military, as is stated in my literature. Both my parents were Navy in the 70s, and then my mother went back in as a mess cook in the 90s. So I strongly support the military. We need to be able to support the military and provide them with what they need to keep our country strong and free in terms of our own national security. So there is some. With any organization, there are some ways to make things more efficient. But in terms of military cuts, like you said, I don't think we should be cutting the military, because it basically directly affects our own national security and our own national standing in the world. So I strongly support the military. I don't think it should be cut.
All right, Mark, before we run out of time, how do people get a hold of you and support your campaign?
Well, my campaign website is at CallahanForOregon.com. That's CallahanForOregon.com. I'm also on Facebook at facebook.com/Callahan for Oregon, and then also Twitter, which is the @ symbol, and then Callahan, the number 4, and then the word Oregon.
All right, pretty busy campaign schedule between now and between now and the time the ballots come out, which is the middle of May. How many more forms do you have in front of you? Do you know yet?
Well, I know we have at least, I think, 3 coming up here. One in Multnomah County, and then one, I believe the Republican women of Central Lane County are having one at the end of April. I know Multnomah County's is on the 31st. So I have to look at my calendar. My team tries to keep my calendar up to date, and then I also post all the events I'm going to on my website, again at CallahanForOregon.com. But I could really use some. I've been traveling all over the state here, and putting a lot of miles and gas in the car, and gas isn't exactly cheap anymore. So I could use all the financial support if I could get it in terms of campaign donations. All
right. Well, folks, check it out, CallahanForOregon.com. Best to you, Mark. And again, thank you for sacrificing your time, your career, and your family's time to go out and do this. This is great, and best to you, my friend.
Well, thank you very much, Perry. I really appreciate the job you did at the candidate forum last week on the 18th, and thank you for taking the time to interview me this morning.
Oh, hi. Great. Mark Callahan. Okay, we'll be right back. Hey, have you been to Haiti? Well, somebody just returned from there and is going to give us a first-hand report of what it's like ministering there. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Paula, and I work at theDove TV. Every day we get letters and emails from people who've been encouraged, blessed, and challenged by the programs on theDove TV. But we couldn't do it without you. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to bring inspiration and hope to our community by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or call us at 541-776-5368.
Hey, we're back, and what a great time to have Cindy Biondi back in the studio with us today. She is the director of eForce Outreach, and they go all over the world ministering, and she just returned from Haiti. And can you believe the need in Haiti is still there after all of these years after that terrible earthquake? And Cindy, good to see you again. I don't know, how many times have you been to Haiti now?
3.
3. Wow. Well, first of all, tell us, what is eForce?
It's just a group of folks who are really, really hungry to know more of God and be used more of God, locally and abroad.
All right, so you just kind of go where you feel led to go.
I do.
You've been to Haiti. What do you do there? What do you do when you get on the ground there?
Well, it really depends. We try to be really, really flexible, but we do have an orphanage that we are the sole support of. So we work with those kids. It's been up and going since the earthquake. Wow. And now we're actually purchasing a home. We're raising money to purchase a home, a forever home for them, and start a mission house there so that we can do salvation outreaches.
How bad is it there still?
It's still really bad. Most of the money that was supposed to come into Haiti did not. And a lot of what did went into the pockets of
government officials.
And
so the greatest need there, of course, is salvation. But what about practical needs? Are they getting more water? Are they getting buildings rebuilt?
They are getting buildings rebuilt, and it is we're an entrepreneurial nation, the United States, and so when you go into Port-au-Prince, and all of the sidewalks are full of entrepreneurs, so they're selling everything they can find, and I love that. I love that spirit there. So there's lights now sometimes at night. And water is pretty much still, you just got to be potable. You've got big water trucks that they carry around for the housing that's there. And
the need for orphanage.
Oh my goodness!
So children abandonment, I guess, is big, huh?
So much. So many people were killed, and then there's so many. There's just a lot of devastation there, and children will get abandoned even though they still may have a mother or a father, but those parents are unable to parent those children.
Now, we've heard some interesting stories out of Haiti in times past and even prior to the earthquake that was so devastating. Some will say that the earthquake was God's judgment based upon their spiritual covenant with Satan or contract with Satan. Now, you can go all over the place on that, but there was a significant spiritual darkness there, I guess we could say. Can you comment on that?
Yes, back in 1804, when just the end of the 1700s, when the French still were over Haiti, there were a bunch of voodoo priests that made some ceremonies and said if Satan would help them get loose and be free, that they would dedicate Haiti to the devil. And so it was a 200-year pact, and Aristide is very reputed to have upped that again in 2004. And the pastor that I work with, along with a whole bunch of other pastors in 2007, gathered a whole bunch of Christians together, marched through the streets and reclaimed Haiti for the Lord, and rescinded that contract.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really a huge, and that was prior to the earthquake.
Yeah, some of the things you read about as a result of that was unbelievable, but now that has been reclaimed, and that was a lot of Christians marched in that, right?
Oh my goodness, there were thousands and thousands and thousands.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, so is there something talking about gold and silver being found in the hills there?
Yes, it was so fun because, for those of us who are working in Haiti and, the hills are denuded and it's this half an island and yet it used to be the jewel of the Caribbean prior to, the French giving up their sovereignty there. In 2012, May of 2012, there was between 20 and $40 billion worth of gold found in the mountains in Haiti.
Really?
Yeah. So when you begin to think about God's purposes and what He's doing with Haiti and the prophecies that have been over Haiti, and now they've gone from less than 20% Christian to over 52% Christian since the earthquake, and now they are putting together a political coalition of Christians. They expect to take the next presidential election with the Christian coalition.
So, what are some of the things that were significant in your last trip for you?
One of the greatest things, you know that I work in both Africa and in Haiti, and because of a few instances of some things that happened, I ended up in HIM, which is Heaven in Me Ministries, being invited to that facility. And these are, it's a Korean-run facility. Then they're connected with the South Koreans and Canadian and New York, and there's just an enormous mission thrust by this organization. And I was invited in there. I get to sit down with the director of that, and it's full of young Haitian men and women in all these little classrooms studying the Word. And I said, "What are you doing here?" And he said, "Well, number one, we're called to rebuild up Haiti and evangelize these wonderful people. And number two, we are called to teach evangelism to these students and take them back to Africa." Well, I work in Africa and Haiti. I'm looking at him and I'm like, what are the odds that I would end up? Because I had already had that, felt like the Holy Spirit had laid that on my heart, that Haiti would send missionaries to all around the world.
Wow.
And so I asked him, "So what about Malawi," which is the country, of course, I worked in? And he said, "Well, we are taking a team into Africa in September. They're very well funded.
Wow.
They're very, very, so full of the Lord." I said, "Would you consider coming to Malawi, which is safe and ready for harvest?" He said, "We'll come with you in September."
Wow. So you're going back there. Wow, how wonderful. Now, you are going to Malawi when?
The end of May. We're doing some more salvation campaigns there. And then back into September. And then we have a vision clinic that we're setting up in November, too, for Malawi.
What are the needs in Malawi? What are you doing there?
We're doing, we do wells. We've done some buildings. We just got some land, 20 acres on that Lake Malawi, which is 350 miles long and 65 miles wide. It's like an ocean, has tides and everything. We were just able to get 20 acres right on that, the beach there, and so we're trying to put together a mission home there and, help them also control their water. They don't control their water. They just, plant their formers. And they've just, in the last year and a half, their president has turned that country over to the Lord publicly.
Wow.
So it's ripe for the harvest, and they're just really, so it's very exciting in that time. So we're helping them both humanitarian aid, and we're going in with salvation, as you know.
Wow. All right. So the connection now, God has helped you to make a connection between Malawi and Haiti.
Go figure.
Okay. And that's coming up in September, so you'll have your Haitian group meet with you in Malawi, and then you'll be able to get the wheels turned in there. Yeah. And the goal there is to take the Christian Haitians and have them become missionaries back into Africa.
That's correct.
That's amazing.
I know.
That's amazing.
Very cool.
Well, if people want to get involved with you, what do they do?
They can go to our website, which is eforcefellowship.org.
Okay.
Or my own personal is cynthiabiondi@gmail.com. And we always, there's a lot of need out there, both in Africa and in Haiti. And I do take groups out. Areas are both very safe where I go.
Yeah, that's the key. Well, best to you. Thanks for doing it. It's amazing to me that the needs are so great still in Haiti, and yet so many people are willing to go. You go, I know other church groups go, and it's kind of like the government's just giving open arms. Come on in and help us.
Yes,
they obviously need it. Are you feel that same way in Malawi?
Oh my goodness, yes. In fact, we're going to meet with the president of Malawi in May. And so, in fact, she devalued the kwacha to encourage international investment in Malawi.
Really? Yeah. Okay. The email or their website again is eForce what?
eForcefellowship.org.
eForcefellowship.org. All right. Or Cindy Biondi at Gmail?
Yep, CynthiaBiondi@gmail.com.
Okay. Hey, thanks for coming in.
Thank you, Peter.
All right. We'll see you next time on Focus Today.
Hi, I'm Jim and I work at theDove TV. Every weekday between 6 and 8 a.m., our award-winning news and sports team bring you the best morning show around. It's live, it's honest, and it's a whole lot of fun. And you help make it happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to air local programs that share your voice by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us.